Dylan and I are roommates. We live together, train together, and now we're racing each other for 100 kilometers.
The top 3 men earn spots at the World Finals, and both of us are trying to qualify.
I only decided to run this race a few weeks ago.
And I've never raced 100K before.
We're teammates.
But once the race starts, we're both on our own journeys, trying to see how fast we can go.
Go! Elite male athletes off the trail, whistling by UTMB. We are underway.
I didn't really have time to train for it at all. I just decided to do it a couple weeks ago. I wasn't trying to put a whole lot of pressure on myself, but there's always the thought that getting top 3 at this race qualifies you for the World Finals next year. Dylan and I looked at the start list a little bit just to try and get an idea of who we were going to be racing. Dylan and I are just walking in to do the group run and pick up our bibs. Initially, we thought it wasn't going to be that competitive, sort of like the race last year, but it's definitely going to be a lot more competitive, and I would rather show up to a race that's more competitive, but I think I'll get more out of myself. But at the same time, I think everyone has to have that nagging feeling in the back of their head that it's going to be a lot harder for me to qualify, and there's a better chance that I don't tomorrow.
I have no doubt about the fact that I can, run a 100K or run, like a moderately hard 100K. It's like how hard, can we push and how fast can we go? So, and that's when I think when you're riding that line of how hard can you go, that's when you start to get a little bit, okay, it's really easy to go off the other end and then you blow up. That's part of the sport and that's some of the risk you run, and that's kind of what makes it exciting.
Just describe the course. Climb up the mountain all the way to the top, about 5,000 feet in 7 miles, and we'll wrap around and descend for 10-ish miles and then climb up to the first crew point. And then we have a super steep climb up to this peak. It's about 4,000 feet in 4 miles. Take the service road and then a trail back down to that crew point. Cross over town and then hit this orange section that's more rolling hills all the way over here. Do this little loop, and then we'll hit some flat, super runnable paths all the way back into town. This last loop that has about 1,500 feet, and then descend back into the finish line.
Race morning, I got up and headed to the start line. Got up around 3 a.m. and got to the start line around 4:15.
The time now is 4:17 a.m.
I wasn't really that nervous at the start line, just showing up. Gonna go see what I can do, but didn't have, huge expectations.
I'm definitely feeling a little bit of excitement, not nervousness, but just the feeling of being ready to go. I'm super excited to get to the top of Whistler and just experience the sunrise from there, and then see how the day unfolds from there.
All right, folks, this is it. The final moments before we approach our takeoff time here for elite pro athletes. Elite pro male athletes, please make your way forward. Now is the last call. We need our elite pro male athletes to go. Some 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Elite male athletes off the trail, whistling by UTMB. We are underway.
The gun went off and kind of running up the mountain and making sure to keep things in check and not push too hard, but the 50K started at the same time as us, and it was really hard to understand and know where I stacked up and where I was in the race. It was dark out and all you see is a bunch of headlamps. I wasn't really sure where Bayden was until probably about half a mile in. I heard him talking to somebody behind me about the trail house, and someone recognized him from the trail house, and that's where I learned where Bayden was. Unfortunately, we didn't really have the opportunity to run together much. I think we both just kind of ran our own races, which I think was probably the best thing we could have done.
Dylan's ahead of me by 5 minutes. That's awesome. He's probably crushing it, and he's gonna go run his race. The first climb of the race is a little over 5,000 feet and over 7 miles, and you summit the top of Whistler Mountain, and timed it pretty perfectly with sunrise, and it was so pretty to look around and see the alpenglow on all the mountains and actually see the glaciers, because down in town you can't really see the glaciers. I actually dug my phone out of my vest, took it out of the bag, and got a video of it because it was so cool. Mid-race, yeah. Coming down the first ascent, and it's so pretty. You gotta This is really, really pretty. I know it's not going to do it justice at all. Not even remotely close, but just got to get a little bit. Doesn't get much better than that, I don't think.
Pretty cool seeing sunrise up on Whistler.
I had no clue what place I was in for like the first 28 miles of the race. Like no idea. Later, I found out that I was anywhere from like 5th to 10th place. I do remember going back and forth with a few people, so that makes sense, but yeah, I had no idea.
Really good. The steep downhill, like kind of uncomfortable seeing. Like hope that didn't screw me up for later. But.
I think I moved into about 5th place over the first 18 miles and then got to my crew at that first aid station, the Big Burn 1 crew station. My mom was crewing for me, which was really exciting, just because I hadn't seen her in a while, and it was fun to have her there and have her be a part of the day. Got a couple new bottles and some sunglasses before going up on the second climb.
Yeah, she said I was 5th.
How far back do you think Bayden is?
I don't know. There was a couple times up at the top, so I turned around. You see a long ways. Felt good on first climb was very controlled.
How's Dylan doing?
He's cruising.
Nice.
Yeah, he's maybe came through, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes ago, something like that.
So I run down from the first loop. It's about 18 miles into the course and feeling good. I mean, definitely not fresh after climbing 7,000 feet, but I was ready to start the next loop.
After I came out of the Big Burn 1 cruise station, the next part of the course is summiting Blackcomb Peak. So the climb is a little steeper. This is where we basically had a vertical K and felt really good on this actually. I was running a lot more of it than I expected and just being really, really steady and consistent pushing uphill.
Blackcomb Mountain, you're at 23 miles and 11,000 feet of climbing at the top of Blackcomb Mountain, approximately. And then you descend all the way back down to the second crew point, which is Big Burn 2.
And it turns out I moved into first, which I hadn't realized until I got to the second cruise station, Big Burn 2, at around 50K. And I was going through Big Burn and I asked how far ahead the leader was. Somebody told me I was leading. That kind of surprised me, and I was like, very much shifted the mindset of the rest of the day and how to kind of approach the last half of the race. In Big Burn 2, when I learned I was in first, the mentality immediately switched from hunting down whoever's in front of me to, okay, we still have a long ways to go and we're in first, let's be smart and just be nice and steady. Unfortunately, going through this aid station, I had like a little bit of a hiccup. It was definitely starting to get warm at this point of the day.
We're still in this cruise zone. Can you just ask for grapples?
It made the next section a little bit uncomfortable because I ended up running a lot of it without water.
I was just thinking to myself on the way down that maybe I'm finally warmed up. I'm feeling good.
The thought of top 3 was creeping into my head because I knew I was in striking distance, especially because I was feeling so good at this point in the race. Big Burn 2, my mom and Dylan's mom and his grandma were there, and they're all helping me get through the aid station. I just switched out my bottles, picked up some gels. I actually had some chafing going on, so I fixed that problem real quick. It was kind of awkward, like in my groin. So I left Big Burn 2 and I'm running through the center of Whistler Village, and there's just strips of tape showing you where to go. And like 95% of the people there have no idea what's going on. You get a few people cheering, but most people just have no idea that you're 30 miles into a 63-mile race. I was feeling really good, and I just tend to tell myself, like, relax, you're still not that far into the race, there's a lot left.
I felt really strong still, very much in the mindset of don't go too crazy, just hold on to this, be smart. Around 38 miles though, I was coming down a switchback in this long downhill, and I come around a corner and there was a pretty big black bear just standing in the middle of the trail. So I stopped and I just like kind of yelled at it for, I think it was about 3 minutes. I just stood there and yelled at it to try to get off the trail, and it really did not care. I mean, I was just really terrified that second place was going to come around the corner any minute and you know, I'd be caught. But I had no idea what the gap was back to second at this point. But eventually the bear made its way off course, and I just kind of, you know, slowly went by and then started running again.
You ever had to crosswalk in a race before? There was a bear?
Yeah, I had to stop.
Was he on the trail?
Yeah. Just like standing there yelling at it.
I get around the bear, and on that downhill, a couple miles later, my stomach starts hurting and I just feel a little discomfort. I was well over my carb goals at this point just because I was under my paces. So I was at the point where I thought I'd be, 7 hours into the race, and it was only 6 hours and 20 minutes, something like that. But I've still eaten the same amount of carbs. That means I'm fueling at a higher rate per hour than I was planning on.
You need anything else, John?
Yeah, just stand right here. We got you. You are awesome, kid.
How far is the next water station?
Next aid station is 10.6K, 350 meters of climbing.
Okay, how much downhill?
That's the one you should just put on
A
you.
lot of it's on the valley trail.
I know, I think time.
You just saw Dylan come through weather check aid station. How's he feeling?
He's feeling okay. Stomach's bothering him a little bit, but I think he feels good. He didn't deviate from his plan. I've come this far. Let's just keep going. Let's do the plan. He knows what his goals are, so he's usually just is good about sticking to them.
I also got information that I was about 15 minutes up on second place, which is a bigger gap than I was expecting. So that built a little bit of confidence, and I knew the next couple miles were pretty fast and runnable.
So I run down that descent, get into weather check, take a little bit of time there. I drank some ginger beer, took a few minutes to reset, and then I put some music in and had a caffeinated gel, 200 milligrams of caffeine, and I don't drink caffeine, so definitely got me amped up, especially with the music. My legs were feeling great. Like, all right, now it's time to start racing. I got 20 miles left. I'm feeling good. Like, let's go for it. And I caught up to the guy who had passed me a few miles earlier and dropped him like pretty handily. Like, I was like, oh, this is good. It's like feeling really good. Looking back on it, maybe I was getting a little too excited. Who knows? And that side ache got a lot worse.
At one point, it cramped so bad I threw up.
I don't know exactly what it was. My thought right now is maybe electrolytes. On all the downhills and the flats, it just progressively got worse and worse to the point where my entire stomach and abdomen cramped so hard that I threw up. My stomach wasn't upset, but it was cramped so hard that I threw up and was dry heaving for a while. Max ran on by me a couple minutes later.
It seems like when I drink and eat stuff, it's worse.
Even after I threw up, the problem didn't go away. Still having really bad stomach cramps. This section of the race was sort of a mental whiplash because I was feeling really, really good. And then all of a sudden I'm feeling really, really bad.
Looking at the course, I knew the last little loop was about 8 miles and had 1,500 feet of climbing on it. But I expected that to take about an hour, maybe 70 minutes. And I was in for a big surprise when I found out what the loop actually entailed.
I was like, all right, almost there. Less than 10 miles, it shouldn't be too bad. Hit a bike trail.
What I didn't foresee was that once I got into that loop, it was not on the gravel path I expected, but took a turn onto some pretty technical and untraveled trail, which was scarcely marked and full of these rocks that you basically had to scramble over. So it was full of these scrambles that were between 8 and maybe 20 feet tall. A bunch of them had ropes that you had to use, so it was very mandatory that you'd have to stop running and kind of get on all fours to scramble up these little sections, and it would just ruin your cadence a little bit and kind of take away some momentum. And I got really afraid that the second place or anybody who was kind of chasing me down would make up some serious ground here, because I was planning on this section being pretty runnable and only take maybe an hour. It turned out that it took an hour and 50 minutes just because of how slow going the terrain was.
Yeah, last climb.
It's going pretty well. The uphill legs are feeling good, which is awesome. That last time I ran this far, my uphill legs were destroyed by this point. So that's really motivating. But again, I still can't run the downhills or the flats very well. You turn off this nice gravel road onto this old bike trail thing that meanders up through the forest and the rocks, and it was pretty bad. Really, it was a it was a motivation killer for sure. At this point in the race, I wasn't really thinking about the top 3. I was more focused on trying to get to the finish line, feeling as strong as I could, and problem solving through what I've been dealing with. And I figured if I could do that, then maybe somehow the 3rd place would come around. And I don't want to give up on a race just because I'm not going to get 3rd place or something like that.
I was so grateful to see the end of the miserable non-trail section of the race and get back to the last mile, which was that runnable gravel path. And it was still rolling hills, but I knew I had won the race. And once I saw the left to take to the finish line, I just was so excited.
100-kilometer race. So get yourselves up and at 'em. It's time to welcome our champion here today, Ultra Trail Whistler by UTMB, 100 kilometers in the final steps. And here he is. It's time to celebrate your champion today. He runs for the Trailhouse out of Boulder, Colorado. Welcome to the finish line, your champion, Dylan. A great job, Dylan. Ultra Trail Whistler by UTMB, taking the top step today in the 100-kilometer race.
I signed up for this race to get a spot for CCC next year. So the mandatory goal was top 3, and then pushing beyond that, winning was the goal, big goal. And I took the lead around 50K, and was kind of like, all right, well, I guess we're going for it now. And then it managed to hold on.
Although the only good thing is if he's not in the top 3, he might be able to move up. Like that will play to Bayden's strengths because everybody's gonna be walking.
Bayden is 4 or 5, we think.
Hopefully you can move up on that section.
I passed a guy on the last downhill, which brought me in the 4th place for the men's race, which was motivating. The last couple miles finally got off that horrible trail, and for once I was actually hoping for a gravel road, and we got it towards the end and ran that in.
$100K finisher from Superior, Colorado, Bayden Benton. Welcome to the finish line, Bayden.
Woo! Good job!
Dude, killed it. Nice work.
I finished 5th overall. I was the 4th guy to finish, and I missed the auto qualifier to the finals by 1 spot. I think for some people, this would be really frustrating and annoying, but I think it's really, really motivating because the race went well and I know I can run a lot faster and compete. This is like getting me excited to run another 100K at some point because I know I can run a lot better.
The race certainly validated some feelings I've had. I've always thought I was more of a long distance runner. I've always thought I'm pretty durable. I'm good at running steady, but I've never raced 100K before. So it felt really good to step up to that distance and perform as well as I thought I could. And it really makes me excited for my career. I'm also excited that it makes a step in proving that the Trailhouse it's a performance team. Like we're guys who can compete. We're guys who can compete at the top of the stage, and we're guys that are gonna keep getting better. It's not just like this media outlet where you guys get to watch these great YouTube videos every couple weeks, but this is a performance team, and so far Aries is qualified for the US team at WMRA. Bayden has finished 3rd at Mount Marathon and now 4th at Whistler, and I just won Whistler. So really excited about where things are going. I'm really excited about this team. Yeah, so got a new trophy. Whistler overall champion.